Someone gives you 10 compliments and one piece of criticism in the same conversation. A week later, you can't remember a single compliment, but you remember the criticism word for word. You remember their tone. You might even remember what they were wearing when they said it. That's not a personal flaw. That's not you being too sensitive. That's your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. For most of human history, this exact tendency kept you alive. And understanding why it still runs your emotional life today might be the most useful 5 minutes you spend all week. Let's start with the name for what's actually happening. Psychologists call it negativity, bias, the tendency for negative experiences, especially negative information about yourself, to affect you more strongly and stick around longer than positive ones of equal size. In 2001, psychologist Roy Baumeister and his colleagues published a paper with the title that says, "Everything You Need to Know: Bad is Stronger Than Good." They reviewed decades of research across memory, relationships, learning, and decision-making and found the same pattern showing up again and again. Bad events, bad feedback, and bad emotions consistently produced a stronger, faster, and longer lasting psychological response than good ones of the same intensity. Think about what that actually means. It's not that you're choosing to dwell on the negative. Your brain is doing it automatically faster than you can consciously intervene. So why would evolution build a brain like that? Picture an ancestor walking through tall grass 10,000 years ago. 999 times that rustling sound is just wind. One time, it's a predator. The ancestor who obsessively remembers that one dangerous rustle survives. The ancestor who treats every rustle with the same calm, balanced attention does not get a second chance to update the record. A missed threat could end your life. A missed reward just meant a slightly less good day. Those two outcomes were never symmetrical, so your brain never evolved to treat them symmetrically. That imbalance didn't disappear when the predators did. It just found new targets. Instead of rustling grass, it's a critical comment in a meeting. Instead of a shadow in the trees, it's a text message that reads a little colder than usual. Here's where the neuroscience gets specific. Neuroscientist Elizabeth Kensinger, who studies emotion and memory at Boston College, has shown that emotionally negative events activate the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that acts like an alarm system more intensely than positive events do. When the amygdala lights up, it doesn't just register the moment. It tags that memory as high priority, which makes your brain more likely to encode it in vivid detail and retrieve it later, whether you want to relive it or not. Compare that to a compliment. A compliment usually doesn't trigger that alarm response at all. It gets processed briefly, appreciated, and then filed away without the neurological equivalent of a red flag attached to it. No red flag means weaker encoding. Weaker encoding means it fades. That's the asymmetry in a single sentence. Threats get flagged for permanent storage. Praise gets a passing glance. This shows up far beyond individual memory too. Psychologist John Gottman, who spent decades studying married couples at the University of Washington, found something now widely known as the Gottman ratio. Relationships that last tend to maintain roughly 5 positive interactions for every single negative one. Fall below that ratio, and the relationship becomes significantly more likely to fail. Read that number again. 5 to 1. Not 1 to 1. Not 2 to 1. 5 positive moments were required just to offset the emotional weight of a single negative moment. That's how unevenly your brain values the two. Now, reconstruct a familiar scene using everything you've just learned. You give a presentation at work. 9 colleagues tell you it was great. One person raises a single pointed criticism about your third slide. That night, lying in bed, you're not replaying the 9 compliments. You're replaying the criticism, turning it over, imagining better ways you could have responded, feeling your chest tighten slightly every time the sentence replays. 9 positive data points, 1 negative one. And the negative one is the only data point your brain treats as urgent enough to revisit at 11 p.m. This is where the counterintuitive twist comes in, and it's the part most people never hear. Negativity, bias, isn't a bug in your psychology. It isn't evidence that something is wrong with you, or that you're insecure, or that you need to just think positive. It's a precisely calibrated survival mechanism operating exactly as designed, just aimed at a modern world that almost never contains the kind of danger it was built for. Your brain can't tell the difference between a predator and a passive-aggressive email. Both trigger the same ancient alarm system. Both get flagged, stored, and replayed. The mechanism hasn't changed in tens of thousands of years. Only the input has. Once you see this clearly, the mirror onto your daily life is impossible to miss. Think about your last performance review at work. How much time did you spend thinking about the areas for improvement versus the areas where you were praised? Think about scrolling through comments on something you posted. If there are 50 kind comments and one harsh one, which comment do you remember an hour later? Think about a friendship or relationship. Can you recall a specific fight in detail from years ago, while the quiet, comfortable, uneventful good days from that same era have mostly blurred together into a general sense of, it was nice? None of that is a character flaw. It's the same mechanism that once kept your ancestors alive in tall grass, still running in the background of a brain that hasn't been updated for group chats, comment sections, or open plan offices. Knowing this doesn't erase the bias. You can't simply decide to stop having it any more than you can decide to stop your amygdala from responding to a loud noise. But knowing it exists changes what you do with it. When a single criticism starts to outweigh a room full of praise in your memory, you can name what's happening. This is negativity bias doing its ancient job in a modern context that doesn't require it. That single sentence of awareness is often enough to loosen its grip, even if it can't switch it off entirely. Gottman's 5-to-1 ratio offers a practical takeaway too. If negative moments carry 5 times the psychological weight of positive ones, then maintaining a relationship, a friendship, or even your own self-esteem isn't about eliminating negativity, which is impossible. It's about consciously stacking enough positive moments to counterbalance the ones that will inevitably stick harder than they should. You started this video wondering why you couldn't shake a single piece of criticism out of your head, even surrounded by praise. Now you know it was never a personal weakness. It was a survival system built for a world of predators in tall grass, still faithfully running its old code inside a brain that now has to survive performance reviews and comment sections instead. The compliments were never the problem. Your brain was simply built to let them go so it could hold on tighter to whatever might have hurt you